January 16th, 2025, 6 a.m. Queens, New York. NYPD tactical unit surrounds a residential house, 6 officers, body cameras recording. Inside, a 25-year-old is asleep. His phone sits on the nightstand with 1.2 million Instagram followers. His Mercedes is parked outside with 6 cameras still mounted to the chassis. And in about 30 seconds, his entire world is about to collapse. Not because the police did exceptional detective work, not because an informant gave him up, but because for 8 months straight, he filmed himself committing crimes and posted every single one publicly, with his face visible, license plates showing, location tags active. This is the story of SQUEEZE.BENZ. And it's not a story about getting caught. It's a story about handing prosecutors everything they needed on a silver platter. Antonio Ginestri was 24 years old when he created the Instagram account that would destroy his life. The username was SQUEEZE.BENZ. The concept was simple. Film himself driving his modified Mercedes AMG through New York City at speeds that made no sense for urban streets. Post the footage. Watch the numbers climb. The first video dropped in May 2024. A black Mercedes weaving through Manhattan traffic at triple the speed limit. Shot from 6 different angles. Professional editing. Bass-heavy music. The algorithm loved it. Within hours, hundreds of thousands of views. The comments section exploded. Some called it insane. Others called it fake. Most just wanted more. And Antonio delivered. 1 video became 2. 2 became 5. 5 became a regular posting schedule that documented violations across New York City with production value most professional creators would envy. Every acceleration, every lane change at dangerous speeds, every red light ignored, all captured in 4K from multiple angles, all posted publicly, all time-stamped and location tagged. He wasn't the first creator to film dangerous driving content. Street racing videos had existed on social media for years. But most creators use burner accounts, masked their faces, avoided showing plates, posted from countries with lenient laws. Antonio did none of that. He used his real identity, showed everything, posted from New York City where traffic laws are enforced aggressively and surveillance is everywhere. He wasn't just pushing boundaries. He was documenting himself crossing them in the most traceable way possible. Here's what Antonio understood perfectly. Social media algorithms reward engagement. The more extreme the content, the more views it generates. The more views it generates, the more the algorithm pushes it. Basic platform economics. What Antonio didn't understand was evidence law, because everything that made his videos more engaging made them more damaging as evidence. Every camera angle that proved the footage was real. Every timestamp that confirmed when violations occurred. Every location tag that showed exactly where. Every clear shot of his face that eliminated any question of identity. By June 2024, the content had escalated beyond just speeding. Videos showed him running red lights at intersections packed with pedestrians, weaving between lanes on the FDR Drive during rush hour with families in minivans forced to brake suddenly, pulling handbrake turns in residential neighborhoods where children played. Each video pushed further than the last, because that's how social media works. The audience builds tolerance. What shocked them yesterday bores them today. So the content has to escalate to maintain engagement. The production quality kept improving too. Multiple cameras synchronized perfectly, showing the same moment from different perspectives. Drone shots capturing the Mercedes from above as it carved through traffic. Interior shots with the speedometer clearly visible, exceeding 150 miles per hour on highways posted at 55. Sound design that made every acceleration feel cinematic. Graphics overlaying speed calculations and route maps. This wasn't amateur footage shot on a phone. This was professionally produced content with editing, color grading, and post-production that took hours per video. And every element that improved the production value improved its value as evidence. The followers noticed patterns quickly. Antonio had favorite routes he ran repeatedly. The West Side Highway late at night when traffic thinned, but pedestrians still crossed. The Brooklyn-Queens Expressway during early morning hours when commuters filled the lanes. Specific intersections in Lower Manhattan where he'd execute the same dangerous maneuvers over and over. He wasn't trying to hide locations, He was showcasing them, tagging them, making them part of the brand identity, because street racing content thrives on authenticity. Viewers want proof these are real streets, real traffic, real risk. So Antonio gave them exactly that. Real street names, real landmarks visible in backgrounds, real timestamps showing precisely when each run occurred. By August 2024, SQUEEZE.BENZ had over 400,000 followers. Individual videos were hitting millions of views. Sponsors started reaching out. Automotive brands wanted partnerships. Energy drink companies offered deals. The monetization was working. Antonio was making actual money from content documenting violations. And for a 24-year-old watching those numbers climb, it must have felt like validation, like he'd figured out something others hadn't, like the risk was worth the reward, like he was untouchable because if there were real consequences, they would have happened already. That feeling of invincibility is common at that age, the belief that you're the exception to the rules everyone else follows. But prosecutors were already watching, and they weren't thinking in terms of followers or engagement. They were thinking in terms of years, not months, years. Antonio kept posting because in the social media economy, momentum is everything. Stop posting and the algorithm forgets you exist. Your audience moves on. Your engagement drops. So he maintained the schedule. 3 to 4 videos per week, each one more extreme than the last. Each one adding to a case file he didn't know was growing. But something else was happening that Antonio either didn't notice or didn't care about. Law enforcement was watching. Not just local NYPD precincts getting tagged in comments from angry residents. The NYPD Highway District, the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Even federal agencies started monitoring the account because some of the routes crossed jurisdictional boundaries that triggered their involvement. And they weren't watching casually. They were documenting, screenshot by screenshot, video by video, building a case file that grew every time Antonio hit post. The investigation wasn't complex. It didn't require undercover work or confidential informants or sophisticated surveillance. Antonio was doing all the work for them. Every video provided multiple forms of evidence: vehicle identification from license plates visible in his own footage, location confirmation from background landmarks and GPS tags embedded in posts, time confirmation from timestamps. Antonio added himself to make videos feel more authentic. Speed confirmation from his own dashboard cameras showing the speedometer, and identity confirmation from clear facial shots he included because audiences engage more with content when they see the person behind it. Detective work that normally takes months happened in days. Tracing the Mercedes registration took one database search. The plates visible in multiple videos led directly to Antonio's name and address. Confirming his identity took scrolling through his personal Instagram account, which he'd linked to SQUEEZE.BENZ for cross-promotion. His face appeared in both places. Same person, no ambiguity. Establishing pattern of behavior took watching the public videos he'd posted in chronological order. The violations weren't isolated incidents. They were repeated, documented, scheduled content demonstrating clear intent and escalating disregard for public safety. By September 2024, the case file was substantial. Over 40 videos documenting traffic violations, each video containing multiple violations: reckless endangerment, excessive speeding in school zones, running red lights at pedestrian crossings, illegal passing in no passing zones. The list kept growing because Antonio kept posting. And here's what made this different from typical street racing cases. Usually prosecutors have to prove violations occurred. They need witnesses, they need traffic camera footage, they need evidence that survives challenges about authenticity and chain of custody. In this case, the defendant had filmed everything himself, in high definition, from multiple angles, with his own commentary explaining what he was doing, with timestamps and locations he'd added himself, with his face clearly visible. The defense couldn't challenge authenticity. It was his own content posted from his own account. The legal team reviewing the case had never seen anything like it. Typically, criminals try to avoid documentation. They wear masks, they use stolen plates, they avoid cameras, they operate in areas without surveillance. Antonio had done the opposite of all of that. He'd mounted cameras to his own car, used his real plates, filmed in the most surveilled city in America, posted everything publicly, with his real name attached. One prosecutor described it as voluntary confession delivered in episodic format for entertainment purposes. But Antonio kept posting through September and into October. The follower count hit 600,000. Video views were averaging 2 million per post. The comment sections filled with people warning him he'd get caught eventually. Others encouraged him to be more careful. Some suggested he was untouchable because if police could catch him, they would have already. Antonio seemed to believe that last group. His confidence grew with his audience. The videos became more brazen, longer runs at higher speeds, more dangerous maneuvers in heavier traffic, commentary that mocked the idea of consequences. There's something tragic about watching someone who genuinely believes they've found a loophole in reality. Antonio wasn't a hardened criminal. He was a kid from Queens who loved cars and stumbled into viral success. The dopamine hit of notifications, the validation of millions of views, the money starting to flow in. All of it created a bubble where consequences felt distant and abstract, where the virtual world of social media felt more real than the legal system building a case against him. He was getting swept up in something bigger than he understood, riding a wave that felt unstoppable until it stopped. In one video from late October, Antonio filmed himself doing 140 miles per hour on the Cross Bronx Expressway during evening rush hour. The caption read, "They can't catch what they can't keep up with." The irony was lost on him. Police didn't need to catch him during a run. They had his address. They had overwhelming evidence. They had legal authority. They were building an airtight case. And every new video Antonio posted added more charges to the eventual indictment. November 2024 brought the first mainstream media coverage. Local news stations ran stories about the dangerous street racing content going viral on social media. They interviewed residents who'd encountered the black Mercedes on neighborhood streets, parents whose children played near intersections where Antonio filmed stunts, NYPD officials who confirmed they were aware of the account and investigating. The coverage should have been a warning. Instead, it brought more followers. The controversy drove engagement. People who'd never heard of SQUEEZE.BENZ found the account through news coverage, followed for the spectacle. The algorithm rewarded the spike in engagement with even more reach. Antonio responded to the news coverage with another video. This one showed him driving past the NYPD headquarters in Lower Manhattan, waving at the building, accelerating away at speeds that forced other drivers to swerve. The message was clear. He believed he was untouchable. The prosecution team added the video to the evidence file and continued building their case. December brought a shift. The videos continued, but the tone changed slightly. Antonio started including disclaimers. For entertainment purposes only. Filmed on closed courses. Professional driver. The disclaimers were obviously false. The background showed public streets with real traffic. The reactions from other drivers were genuine. The timestamps corresponded to real dates and times. But someone had apparently advised him that disclaimers might provide legal protection. They wouldn't. False disclaimers don't invalidate evidence. They just demonstrate consciousness of guilt. By late December 2024, the investigation was complete. The district attorney's office had compiled over 50 separate violations documented across Antonio's videos. Each violation supported by his own footage. Each one time-stamped and location verified. Each one showing his face clearly. The evidence package was overwhelming. Arrest warrant was issued. The tactical team was briefed, and they waited for the right moment. January 16th, 2025. Early morning when suspects are typically home and least likely to flee. The tactical units surrounded the Queens residence where Antonio lived. The operation was textbook. Officers at every exit. Body cameras recording. Warrant in hand, they knocked. Antonio answered in sleep clothes, confused. He was placed under arrest while officers explained the charges. Reckless endangerment. Aggravated unlicensed operation. Multiple counts of reckless driving. Speed violations that crossed into criminal territory because of the extreme nature and danger to public safety. If you're seeing how every decision Antonio made brought him closer to this moment, hit that like button and subscribe. Because what happens next shows exactly why social media and criminal activity don't mix. The arrest made immediate headlines. Not because it was surprising, but because it was inevitable. Every news outlet that had covered the SQUEEZE.BENZ phenomenon covered the arrest. The footage of Antonio being let out in handcuffs went as viral as his driving videos. The comment sections on his Instagram filled with reactions ranging from "finally" to "worth it" for the content. But the legal reality was grim. The charges were serious. The evidence was ironclad. And the prosecution had no incentive to offer favorable deals. The arraignment happened quickly. Bail was set high because of flight risk concerns. Antonio's lawyer attempted to argue that the videos were entertainment, not evidence of actual crimes. The argument failed immediately. The prosecution presented comparison analysis showing backgrounds in videos matched real locations, down to street signs and building facades. Timestamps in videos matched traffic camera data from those same locations showing the same Mercedes. Dashboard camera footage from Antonio's own videos provided exact speed readings. There was no ambiguity, no room for alternative interpretation. The videos documented crimes, period. The trial preparation revealed just how thoroughly Antonio had documented his own case. Prosecutors had over 100 hours of footage to work with. They didn't need all of it. They selected the most egregious examples. Runs through school zones during active hours, near misses with pedestrians and crosswalks, speeds exceeding 150 miles per hour in areas where the posted limit was 25. Each video played in court showed Antonio's face clearly, showed the violations clearly, showed the complete disregard for public safety clearly. The defense had few options. They couldn't challenge the authenticity of evidence Antonio himself had created and posted. They couldn't argue mistaken identity when his face appeared throughout. They couldn't claim the violations didn't occur when the footage showed them happening. The strategy shifted to mitigation, arguing that no one was actually hurt, that the content was creating jobs through the social media economy, that Antonio was young and made mistakes. None of it mattered much. The prosecution's closing argument was simple. The defendant filmed himself committing crimes, posted them publicly, profited from them, continued doing so even after media coverage made clear law enforcement was aware, showed no remorse, encouraged others through comments and engagement. The evidence of guilt wasn't circumstantial. It was direct, comprehensive, and self-provided. The verdict came quickly, guilty on multiple counts. Sentencing took longer as the court considered the severity and pattern of behavior. 5 years. The sentence reflected not just the violations themselves, but the aggravating factors. The deliberate documentation, the public posting, the profit motive, the complete disregard for warnings, the encouragement of similar behavior in others through the platform he'd built. Antonio Ginestri walked into court as SQUEEZE.BENZ with over 1 million followers. He walked out as inmate number entering the New York State prison system. The Instagram account still exists. Frozen in time with the last video posted days before arrest, the view counts still climb as new people discover the story. But the comments now serve as cautionary tale. Thousands of warnings from people recognizing what Antonio didn't. That social media isn't separate from reality. That documentation is evidence. That platforms don't protect you from consequences. The SQUEEZE.BENZ case changed how law enforcement approaches social media content. It established precedent that self-posted content constitutes valid evidence, even without traditional surveillance. It demonstrated that defendants can and will provide overwhelming evidence against themselves, if given platform and audience to do so. And it showed that the same algorithms that reward extreme content will document that content permanently for prosecutorial use. So here's what the case actually reveals. Social media creates permanent, time-stamped, location-verified, self-authenticated evidence of everything you post. The engagement metrics you chase become the evidence chain prosecutors need. The authenticity your audience demands becomes the proof courts require. Antonio Ginestri didn't get caught because police did exceptional work. He got caught because he documented every crime himself in the highest possible quality and posted it publicly for millions to see. 8 months. That's how long it took for social media success to become criminal conviction. From first post to arrest, less than a year. The algorithm that rewarded his content didn't protect him from consequences. The followers who celebrated his videos didn't testify in his defense. The sponsors who offered deals disappeared when charges were filed. He traded 5 years of freedom for 8 months of views. And every single video that built his audience added to the evidence that convicted him. The question isn't whether social media and criminal activity can coexist. The SQUEEZE.BENZ case answered that definitively. They can't. The question is how many others will learn this lesson by watching Antonio's story versus experiencing their own version. Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if this breakdown showed you why documentation equals evidence in the social media age, make sure you're subscribed. Thanks for watching.